All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Tennis Channel Inside In on the Tennis Channel Podcast Network. Mitch Michals from the Santa Monica studios, gearing up for the U.S. Open. Joined now by a player in that tournament who'll be starting his doubles campaign this week. He was the number one ranked player in the world after winning the French Open this past spring. He's somebody that has represented his country in the Olympics, will be representing the U.S. in the Davis Cup finals in November in Croatia, and is trying to get that number one ranking back yet again from Texas A&M. We're joined now by Austin Krajicek. Austin, thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're gearing up for the Open. It's exciting times for everyone, especially here in the States. First off, how are you feeling going into this tournament? It's been a whirlwind of a year. Not that many downs, mostly ups, but gearing up for the home slam. How are the vibes and how's everything going?
Definitely, yeah. It's like you said, no doubt it's been a whirlwind this summer, to say the least. But yeah, we had a good week last week in Cincinnati. I think we're both, my partner Yvonne and I are both feeling pretty confident, and staying healthy is, more than half the battle. So we both feel good physically, and looking forward to getting started here in New York. It's always fun to get to play a tournament in the U.S. and be on our home soil, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, how many you've played a bunch of U.S. Opens. Are you used to the experience now? I know at first you see young players, young Americans always say this is, crazy. This is the dream I've always had. Now I'm here.
Sure.
Kind of used to the craziness.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I haven't even counted, to be honest, but yeah, I started playing juniors here probably in 2005, six, something like that. So it's been quite a few years in a row in New York, and yeah, I love it up here. I mean, obviously the energy is a little bit different. It's special being in the city. The first couple days always takes a little bit to adjust. Sleeping with some of the noise and all that, and being with the traffic and stuff. I live in Texas, so it's a little bit different vibe over there, but I love it. It's a great atmosphere, and the fans make it really fun.
So you going into this tournament, obviously with the year you've had and everything that you've done and playing with Dotage and such a great partner, are you going into this feeling the pressure, motivation to get the job done? And, I know the title is the main goal, but to get to that number one ranking, are you feeling like it's within grasp?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, luckily this summer I put myself in a position where it isn't within grasp. I think at this stage of our year, we feel confident to say that any tournament we go to, we want to go there to try to win the tournament. At the same time, I think if you focus on that, it usually doesn't end well. So, we try to focus on the process and the little things and try to prepare ourselves to play the best match each day and just bring our best level and give ourselves an opportunity to win. But yeah, for sure, I wouldn't lie to you and say that we don't have high goals, and it definitely would be awesome to do it here in New York.
He's won a couple majors, has Dotage, and
Mhm.
before you guys won this spring. What's something you've learned from a veteran? I know, you're in your, prime of your career as well, but playing with a veteran, someone older, what have you learned from an accomplished doubles champion like him?
Yeah, I've learned so much. I mean, Ivan's such a great guy. He's obviously one of the best players ever. To be playing with him now for almost 2 years, it's been pretty cool to be able to learn from him on the big stage. I mean, what to expect. I mean, some of that stuff, someone can tell you all they want how it's going to feel playing on a center court at a Grand Slam or in the year-end finals, but until you kind of experience it yourself, it's one of those things you kind of have to go through. But to lean on Ivan in those big moments, he's obviously been there before many times, and so to kind of lean on that, and then also his professionalism on and off the court, I think is rubbed off on our team in a great way, and I think I've taken a lot of valuable lessons that hopefully will help me extend my career for many years to come.
What's something to go a little inside baseball, inside tennis from an expert's perspective? Why do you think you guys gel so well tactically and how you play together?
Sure. I mean, every partnership's a little different. I think we really see eye to eye on our preparation, not just for matches, but also for practices, and then how we handle losses, I think is a similar fashion. I mean, both pretty professional. And I think when we lose, we both lean on the side of overworking as opposed to kind of letting things happen, I guess you'd say. But yeah, I mean, I think there's other things. I mean, tactically as well, I think we match pretty well. As Ivan obviously has fantastic returns. I'm left-handed, so obviously lefty-righty is always a benefit to have that combo. But also I serve well. We both play aggressive styles of games, and it kind of works on every service. We play aggressive doubles and try to take it to the guys we're playing each day. And so far we've clicked really well. And I think the good news is with tennis, I mean, as Federer always says, there's always 100 things you can do better. So we're each week that we play, we're trying to improve little things, and I think we've got so much room to grow as a team, on and off the court. So that's the good news.
Yeah, for those that don't know, last year, I mean, this year's French Open was special because it was your first major. You got to number one, but also given what happened the year before, it was a pretty brutal, tough loss, a chance to win the title literally on a point away at times that didn't happen. How long did that loss stick with you in the moment? And, how long did it take you to get back to work and realize, okay, the journey's not over. There's still time. There's still more tournaments.
Yeah, I mean that one was a very difficult loss. There's no doubt about that. We had 3 match points in the finals. And yeah, to get so close. I mean, tennis is a weird sport. I say all the time, we were on such a high going into that match. It was the best result of my career so far. And then 2 hours later, you're just so low. Obviously, such a difficult loss. So that was tough to get over. I mean, I think we both um, handled it pretty well, and we were back to work. I mean, in really no time. I think though emotionally, you have to take a second to kind of let that sink in and digest. And I think we took the positives from it. I mean, I think at the time, maybe it didn't feel like even, until just recently, it didn't feel like we needed that. But I actually think at that time, it was a good lesson for us to have. And we kind of needed that loss in a big, tough moment like that. And I think it prepped us moving into the fall. We had a lot of great tournaments at the end of last year and were able to qualify for the year-end championships in Turin last year. And I think that it just, you're going to go through those tough moments in tennis and all sports really. But I think that kind of tough moment put us in a better position for this year when we got back to the finals. We were a little bit more comfortable and settled in. And, it played to our benefit.
It certainly did. It was a remarkable year-end story, going in from the finals and then into the French Open. And I asked this question earlier this week to somebody else. I'm interested in your perspective. You played at Texas A&M, had a standout career there, accomplished a lot. Do you think that experience kind of better equips you than most for dealing with rowdy environments? I mean, France, we know they're
Yeah.
not the most kind there, but I do think that there's something to be said for the college tennis players that know what it's like to play a true road game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I still tell people all the time that going to college and specifically going to Texas A&M was the best decision I've made of my career so far. Those 4 years there were priceless with Coach Denton and Coach McKinley, preparing me for every situation that I was going to be in a tennis tournament. They had done it all. Coach Denton had won 2 Grand Slams and been in the finals of 2 singles Grand Slams in Australia and been number 2 in the world. So everything that I wanted to do on a tennis court, they have done. And to get their perspective on the court, which at the time there wasn't on-court coaching in the ATP level, but you can only do that in college. So to kind of see from his lens of things while we were playing, I think that was a huge benefit. And then, of course, we were in the Big 12 at that time, but to play at some of these tough environments like University of Texas and Baylor, these schools that really make it tough on the opposing team was fun. I mean, and to be honest, to this day, I actually kind of like that, atmosphere where everyone's against you. It's just kind of you and your team, and it makes it difficult, but at the same time, it's pretty cool and rewarding when you come through on the winning side.
Who gave it, or which school gave it to you the worst? Was it Texas?
No, I would actually say Baylor was probably one of the worst, and we had a couple bad ones at LSU on the road. They had some very rowdy fans that maybe hit the tailgate a little too hard, but but it was always fun. College tennis is one of my favorite 4 years for sure.
Yeah, well, I guess it just means more in the SEC. And then 2018, you got inducted, or I shouldn't say that. 2021, you got inducted into the Texas A&M Athletic Hall of Fame. What was that experience like? It has to be chilling to just know you made a mark on an institution like that, and you're one of the people honored at the football game and inducted into immortality at College Station.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really special. I mean, from day one, when I stepped foot on A&M's campus, I really felt like I was part of the Aggie family, and they say that once an Aggie, always an Aggie, and it's actually, I mean, it's crazy how true that is. I still feel super connected to that place, and we try to make it back as much as we can for a football game or two every year. And my parents are still near there, so we try to visit them as much as possible as well. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a little bit surreal, and it took a while for that to sink in. And I mean, there's just so many great athletes that have been there. But it's cool to play for something bigger than yourself, and it's not just there. It's not just about tennis, I mean, the football, and it's just such a big picture thing. All the sports. It was pretty cool to be included in that.
Was that decision to go back and get your degree, was that for you, or was that a promise to mom and dad? Like, how was that decision made?
Um, a little bit of both. I mean, I always was a goal of mine that I knew I really wanted to finish. I actually went to school a little bit early, so I started in the spring. So I played all 4 seasons, but I was technically there 3.5 years. So I had a semester-ish worth of classes to finish. And was always looking for a way to do it. I did as many online classes as I could to knock it down, and then fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, with COVID, they made all the classes online, and I was able to jump on that quick and finish it. And you know, obviously my parents wanted me to finish. My wife as well. She's a lot smarter than me, so I wanted to at least
Yeah.
get my degree for sure.
Got to make everybody happy. It makes a ton of sense. And you turned pro, and everyone's talked about your journey in the doubles game, but there was a lot of time where it was a singles career and a lot of futures and satellite tour events.
Mhm.
What changed from your mindset? And I think 2018 was when you really started to focus on doubles, and then the breakthrough and the rise up the rankings steadily happened. What changed in your mindset to make you want to make that decision of I'm going to be all in on the doubles train?
Yeah, it was a tough time there a little bit in 2018. I dropped off a bit. Was in the top 100 for a bit in singles, and then had a couple strange injuries and some bad scheduling decisions, and dropped kind of out of that range where I was in the Grand Slam qualies. So I was gonna have to go back through kind of the Challenger Futures grind a little bit. And at that time, I lost a little bit of love for the game. It was just difficult traveling, and the finances really weren't making sense at all. So I was teetering on not playing, and I think my skill set's always been suited quite well for doubles. I always had success in doubles in college, obviously, and thought I wanted to give it a chance, and luckily had some good buddies that I played with that summer. Tennis Sangren is one of my best friends, and we quartered the U.S. Open that year. And one of my other buddies, Jivan Nadine Chezin, who played at Washington as well in college, played some tournaments and got my ranking back up into the top 50 range. And then at that point, decided to kind of focus all in on that, and hopefully make a little bit of a mark on the sport. If I can maybe make a push to win some of these bigger events and get towards the top of the rankings, I thought that would be better for me.
More with Austin Krajicek here on Tennis Channel Inside In. I mean, the path makes sense and everything that you've done to get to this point. And I want to ask you now, as someone that's considered a veteran, still going obviously very strong, but have you seen changes in how the game has evolved, even specifically on the doubles side, how the game's played and just changes over the course of your career?
Yeah, it has. I mean, obviously these younger guys, Carlos and all these guys coming up. I mean, they're just physically, it's insane. I mean, to watch some of the matches they play, it's really, really impressive. And I think tennis is in more than good enough hands for the next few decades. But I think it's changed a little bit. Doubles has changed some. I mean, there's some different tactics that have kind of ebbed and flowed since I started playing, and guys playing so much more aggressive now and closer to the net, and taking more risks and so forth. That there's some different things. A lot of guys playing more I formation and
Yeah.
and different switching and stuff that makes it a little bit tougher as a returner. But yeah, I could see that throughout the years, it definitely has had a little bit of a shift.
When you get to these events like the U.S. Open, obviously, because so much is made about court conditions, and every week we're hearing the courts are playing fast, they're playing slow, and people are happy, people are upset. Your process like for, I guess, getting on the court early, analyzing it, or do you just not pay that as much mind as others?
No, you definitely do. I mean, every week it's a strange sport where every week you're playing with different balls, different stringers, different courts. Obviously different weather. So it makes it extremely difficult to adjust to the conditions. And some of the events, will be completely different, just court to court, not just, from Cincinnati to Toronto, but, US Open, the bigger courts sometimes will play a little bit different. I think US Open does a pretty good job at that usually, but sometimes the outside courts will play significantly faster than the center court, which, so it depends on what side of the draw you're in and all that, who you end up playing on what environment. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. You get there early, and that's why we're here now before we start on Wednesday or Thursday, and try to get as much practice time in as we can, and get used to it. And then hopefully by match day, we're ready to roll.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating, insight thing. The balls, especially, like the players bring it up a lot more than the normal players. But it's true. I mean, everyone has their preferences. I'm sure sometimes you surprise yourself by maybe doing a little better on areas you didn't think were your strong suit. That's the beauty of the sport.
Yeah, that's true. There's been a couple tournaments this year where we didn't like the balls at all, but we ended up winning the tournament. So we kind of were
Yeah.
like, well, maybe we do like those balls.
Do you feel like, I mean, and I know in the population there's not as many lefties, but tennis there is like obviously Nadal being the example, and then other players. But does that give you certain advantages? Do you feel like, and maybe like a kinship with other lefties out there? Because I do feel like it's one of the sports where you see a lot of the strong be left-handed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it is a bit of an advantage. I mean, it's just mainly because maybe the right-handed players don't see as much lefty serves, but it goes the same for us. Is we don't practice with as many lefties either. So when we do play lefties,
Yeah.
we're not the biggest fan of that either. And sometimes I joke that they should have their own league, but it depends where you live. I mean, we have a ton of lefties actually in Dallas that we train with, to be honest. So sometimes I I get tired of seeing that lefty slice serve as well. But it definitely is a little bit of an advantage, and in doubles, especially as a righty and a lefty, you have the advantage of serving with the wind the way you like, and also never looking into the sun. So that definitely is a big advantage.
That's true. I didn't really think about that. Like a
Hmm.
lefty probably loves it until they play another lefty, and it's like, I don't. This isn't as fun.
100%.
I guess kind of going forward to just certain doubles matchups and things. I mean, a lot's made of singles players playing doubles. Do you take? I don't want to say take that personally, but do you look at it as a new challenge when a singles player comes into these major big events and tries to win doubles? Do you feel like you have to kind of defend, the true doubles players?
I mean, I guess you could say a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's really looked at like that. I think the strategy is a bit different. Singles, obviously, just the tactics and stuff are a bit different. You're running a little bit more. It's a little bit not as specific in practices. So sometimes, it's an advantage as they might return extremely well or serve really well in certain situations. But a lot of the stuff that we do at the net, that's really specific. If you play it mostly singles, you don't necessarily practice that a whole lot. So you try to expose that as much as you can and try to put them in difficult situations that they don't feel as comfortable. But of course, when you get some of these guys that are just fantastic tennis players, it doesn't matter, if they play a lot of doubles or not, they're just good players. So it makes it, very difficult for the doubles guys. And, week in, week out, we try to maximize on the little things to give ourselves an edge if we can.
Well, it takes a true partnership and true continuity, I would argue. I mean, some of these singles players obviously are ultra talented and have
Hmm.
good net skills and can play, but it takes a lot of, kinship, knowing your partner from what I've seen, to make it to the year end finals and to have a successful campaign. It's something that you can't necessarily just show up and have a good team. I think that takes the work.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's a full year. I mean, doubles, especially doubles with the format the way it is. I mean, obviously not at the Grand Slams with full scoring, but at the ATP events, we play no ad scoring in third set tiebreakers. The margins are razor thin, so it's if a week here or there. It's not that difficult for a really good singles player or some teams to connect and beat some of the best teams in the world. But it's really more about over a course of a year being really consistent, and that's what makes doubles difficult. Is it is not just about 1 or 3 weeks. It's about playing 30 weeks well together, and putting yourself in a position to be at the top at the end of the year.
Well, you said something there that sparked an interest in me. There's a movement of, maybe getting rid of some ad scoring and certain things to make tennis exciting. I'm not necessarily against it either. Like if we
Sure.
got rid of ad scoring at a point or even played some of the lets, do you think that could kind of spice things up?
Yeah, I think they're constantly looking for ways to make it more efficient on TV, probably. I mean, to make it move a little bit faster and bring a little bit more exciting moments. I'm not opposed to that really either. I mean, it does make it difficult, especially in doubles. When you're down love 30 in a game or something, it really makes it a difficult position to get out of when there's no ad scoring. It would be the same in singles for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be worth a shot. I mean, why not? I think playing lets they do in college already, so I mean, I don't think that affects the game that much. You play lets during the point, so why wouldn't you play it on the serve? There's really not
Yeah.
that many drip over let aces. Maybe a little bit more on grass if the nets are a bit softer, but I mean that happens quite rarely, so I don't think it would affect the game that much.
Yeah. I don't want to, upset the establishment too much, but I'm with you there.
Yeah.
When you look at your tennis career, I know it's not over yet, but when you look in the rear view, where would you put, representing your country in the Olympics? I would imagine it's pretty high on that list that you got to play, and we're just one match away from a medal, but still just the experience of putting on the Team USA shirt.
Yeah, it was something extraordinary. I mean, you know, tennis, to be honest, in the tennis world, the Olympics isn't massive. Obviously, when you're a young kid, you always want to win a Grand Slam, win Wimbledon, win US Open, or these big events. And in Olympics, I always thought it was amazing, but I never really thought I would get to play. And then being able to play in Tokyo, it really took on a special meaning for sure, putting the USA stuff on and having a whole crew behind you. I mean, a huge team. Obviously, there were no fans in Tokyo, but to have our whole team behind us, it was one of the better experiences I've ever had. And then at the same time, just like I said at the Roland Garros last year, it was probably the hardest loss of my career. I would say that one even topped the finals of Roland Garros in 2022. just because we, lost in the semis, and then you kind of try to convince yourself that's okay. We've got another chance in the medal, and then you lose that one again. It was an absolutely brutal loss, and that one stung for a while and took a little bit of a couple weeks to shake off.
Last year in February, Jenny Brady was in the studio and did the show, and we were going over some of the photos of Team USA
Yeah.
tennis, described by her as obnoxiously American attire.
Well, the polo stuff is a bit, 4th of July, and there's
Yeah,
only a few events you can kind of pull it off. The Nike gear is awesome. And just the experience of being there. I mean, with all your teammates, she's one of my good friends as well on the tour. She's awesome. It's so glad to see her back
yeah.
healthy now and playing again. But yeah, it really was a special experience, and hopefully I get the chance to represent again next year. We'll see. So.
Yeah. Odds are looking pretty good there. You will be in Split, Croatia for the Davis Cup finals, along with Tommy Paul, Francis Tiafoe, Rajiv Ram, and Mackie McDonald.
Mhm.
Coach Bob Bryan was going to bring his best doubles players. That
Oh
was
yeah.
a show. But how does it feel to, I guess, in the same regard, you're representing your country, but to be, I guess, the word I would use is appreciated enough to be considered, because this is something that America is really trying to win, get the championship cup back. How does it feel to be selected as part of a team of a very deep U.S. talent roster?
Yeah, it's super special. I mean, I've been hitting partner with the Davis Cup 3 times, and it was always one of my biggest goals of my tennis was to win a Grand Slam. I mean, to be number one and to play Davis Cup. I mean, I obviously was on the team with when it was Andy Roddick and all those guys back in the day, James Blake and the Bryan brothers many times. But it was just so cool to be a part of it as a practice partner to actually get to play on the team now is pretty special. And anytime you get to put USA on the back of your shirt, it gives you goosebumps and it makes you raise your level a little bit. And I really feel like I play my best in that situation. And there's not that many situations in tennis where you get to play on a team. Like you said, college tennis is one of the only places really where you get to play on a team. And after that, you're just kind of alone pretty much all the time. So to have the Olympic experience as a team, and then now to be able to play Davis Cup a second time this year is a huge honor. And then as well, like you said, our pool of players is just crazy deep. The guys are good guys too. We have great chemistry. I think yeah, the team atmosphere is going to be off the charts, and I'm really excited to go over there and go to battle with everyone.
Did you ever get the chance, or have you had the chance to talk to one or both Bryans? Maybe pick their brain as
Oh
the
yeah,
newest stuff. I got to imagine there's a lot.
yeah.
You would just be like a kid in a candy shop learning from those guys who've literally done it all.
Absolutely. I mean, what two guys to look up to. They couldn't get much better than that. I've been pretty close with them for a long time. I rented from Mike a long time ago in Tampa at his house, and have been practice partners several times. So I've always been kind of the guy that if they need anything in slams, I was trying to jump in and practice with them and learn as much as I can, and then to get to know Bob a little better now too. And I mean, what great leaders and what a a well of knowledge they have that they're going to pass on to all the young American guys, and I can't think of a better leader for us moving forward.
Couple more things with Austin Krajicek here on Tennis Channel Inside In as we wrap this up. I got to give a shout out to one of your sponsors, Lotto, the people that are helping set this interview up, and they're celebrating their 50th year. And I got a chance to look at your kid. It's kind of on the slicker side.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just less is more, and just really, hey, they're expecting to see it in the winner's circle, not just with you on Jabor. And I know the
That's
young
right.
kid Alex Nicholson's a Lotto athlete as well. But how's that partnership been? Coming up on close to a decade, right?
Yeah, it's been 2015. They really have made it like a family for me. I've been with them for so long, and I mean the team is phenomenal. I mean anything you need, and their stuff's cool. They're getting so much better. I know they're growing a lot in the U.S. as well. Going to be out in some Dick's Sporting Goods also coming up, and yeah, I love it. I mean I love the black shirt coming up for U.S. Open. We'll see how hot it is during the day. It won't be nearly as hot as it is in Dallas where I live, but I like to wear the darker outfit. And yeah, I mean, they've been great to me for so long, and I love wearing their stuff.
Yeah, the talent pool is pretty deep. It's good to have such a reliable sponsor, someone you can count on. And, you don't want to think about those stuff, right? You don't want to have any issues that aren't tennis because that's
Exactly.
stressful.
And they keep that side of things just so at peace for me. I mean, it's been like that since day one. And yeah, I couldn't imagine playing with anything else. It's great.
So as we kind of wrap this up, I got to ask with the players in front of you with Skupski and Kuloff, do you look at them as like a little bit of a rivalry now? I know it's all, cordial and you guys seem to get along, but
Sure.
is there a competitive rival now?
Well, I mean, we're all competitors, so of course we want to, beat each other as much as we can. Neil went to LSU, so known him for quite a long time. And I mean, tennis is such a small world. Everybody knows everybody. So, and we play them so many times. You get to know the guys, and they're great guys as well. They put in a lot of hard work. They really dominated all of last year, and to be able to kind of jump back and forth with them at the number one spot a few times this year has been pretty cool. And of course, I'm always chasing them. And I mean, you could say it's a little bit of rivalry, but like I said, a lot of that stuff you can't focus on. It's good to have the big goal, but if you focus on that too much, you get sidetracked and you start thinking about the wrong things instead of taking care of yourself and focusing on the process of playing your best tennis.
Yeah, we got that big SEC West rivalry in doubles. So
Thanksgiving game this year. So
see who wins that. We'll see who's number one. I mean, it's a good rivalry in pro tennis. Austin, this has been a blast. The last thing to follow up on, what do you think the keys to success are at the U.S. Open? And just to kind of expand on that, it doesn't seem like there's much left in your career to do other than kind of go on a nice run in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the things that's top of my list. I mean, of course, we like to try to win as many Grand Slams as we can. I've only done that once, so to be able to go deep here would be really special in the U.S. I mean, I've got quite a bit of family that comes out, and hopefully my wife can be here as well, and so it's pretty cool to have that. I mean, I think one of the bigger keys is to be able to balance all of that. Obviously, there's a lot of energy with the crowd and being in the city. That can get a little bit draining sometimes if you're not careful. Kind of taking some rest as well. When you're here, it's a long tournament, a lot of matches that you have to play well back to back, and so you just kind of have to take it match by match, opponent by opponent, and try to play your best strategy on the day and just bring the best level you can, and hopefully give yourself a chance to win the last point. That's all you can do.
It's the perfect way to look at it, and the bonus is, do you have a bottle of bourbon? I know you're a bourbon drinker.
Oh yeah,
you win.
Yeah, we've definitely got another bottle of Old Forester birthday waiting for us at home. So
a lot of pressure because that's a lot riding on it.
Oh, that's right.
Austin Krajicek, appreciate you coming on Tennis Channel Insight, and it was a pleasure. Best of luck in the U.S. Open and beyond as you chase the title and the number one ranking, and just continue doing what you love, and that's play pro tennis. But thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.